Hi, folks. Dale York, Just Fish Outdoors, and I've got on the podcast with me today Trent McBride of McBride Outside, and he's a very, very knowledgeable, awesome guide that's around the Northeast Oklahoma area. And today we're going to talk about the hybrids, which is one of his main species that he fishes for, and we're going to talk about how these fish migrate. We're going to talk about the seasonal patterns. We're going to talk about tips and things that he uses to find these fish and catch these fish. And he's just very, very skilled at doing this. So, hello, Trent. How are you doing today?
Good, Dale. How are you?
I'm doing fine, sir. Why don't you introduce yourself and your business and tell us a little bit about what you do and where you do it?
Yes, sir. My name is Trent McBride. I own McBride Outside Guide Service. One of my main species that I like to guide for is hybrid stripers on Skytook Lake. I also guide for crappie, sand bass, catfish, and spoonbill, and stripers when they're biting on keystone. You can get a hold of me on my phone number is 918-991-9749, or you could also contact me through my website at mcbrideoutside.com, or you can find me on Facebook as well.
Yeah, why don't you spell that last name for you, Trent?
Sure. It's McBride, McBride.
Yeah.
And then outside. Yes, sir.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome, folks. And I fished with Trent, and he's Just Fish Outdoors approved. He knows what he's doing. So if you're in the Northeast Oklahoma area, or in the area, or you're going to be traveling to the area or something, feel free to give Trent a call. He definitely knows what he's doing. He's got some great equipment, including the great Lowrance and units, and he knows what he's doing. Trent, if you would, let's talk about these hybrids a little bit. Let's go through a yearly or semi-yearly pattern of when you start fishing for these particular species, how they travel, how they migrate, what are you looking for when you're trying to find these fish. Just trying to give our listeners some information, helpful information, where if they have these fish in their area lakes, how should they go about finding and catching these fish?
Yeah, I'll usually start late March, early April, looking for the fish on the wind-blown points and back in the pockets, looking for, they're chasing bait back up in there. We'll look for those. A lot of times we'll cast popping corks, or we'll troll with planer boards, up shallow. And just targeting those areas like that, and they'll start producing, and then after they start doing that, they'll start moving out to the deeper water as the year moves on and the water temperature starts increasing.
So you start seeing this movement or migration toward the deeper water, around the 1st of May, somewhere around in there?
They'll start migrating out. Say it's 1st of May, middle of May. It seems here the past few years that the bite has really, really been turned on hard in middle of May.
Yeah.
When you start finding them out there in the main pockets, just really schooled up and feeding hard.
Yeah, that's typically when our water temperatures are around the low to mid 70s, wouldn't you say?
Yes, sir. Once that water temperature hits 70s, they come out of those pockets and out into the deeper water, and usually around 30 feet seems to be key, 20, 30 feet. And
I'm sure you're kind of focusing on river bends and ledges or high spots close to river channels, something like that.
Anytime you can find any type of structure like that that's close to a river channel, they use those river channels, the old channels, they're kind of like their highways, like we would use our interstates and stuff to get back and forth from where they want to go. So targeting those areas like that are really prime spots.
Yeah, and I'm sure you're also keying in on bait because, these fish, from my humble experience, I don't have the experience you do chasing them, but from my humble experience, they don't go very far from the buffet, so they're around bait fish pretty much all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. If you can find the bait fish, you'll find the fish. Which sometimes is a hard thing on Skytook. Now, fortunately, the ODWC has been stocking shad the past few years. to help that out. And I've been seeing a lot more bait balls on sky too. So that's a good thing.
Now, how are you targeting these fish as far as catching them? What kind of rig, what kind of rod and reel are you using? What do you primarily rig up with?
Well, I'll start with the rod. I use a medium heavy action rod, usually either a bait caster or a spin cast. It varies depending on the client. I usually use 30-pound braid with a 20-pound fluorocarbon leader. And in most situations, I'll fish down lines, Carolina rigs, with about an ounce, a 3/4 to an ounce and a half weight, depending on the size of the bait and the wind and all that.
Yeah,
and the leader will also help be determined by the motion of the water and stuff like that. And then I'll usually use about a 2/0 circle hook, 2 to 3/0 circle hook on the end of that leader. What other ways that I fish is just a free line. We'll go straight from the braid with about 6 or 8 feet of 20-pound fluorocarbon with just a hook and sometimes a split shot, and then put a live shad on the end of that and just cast it out either side. And the other way is just a small. Basically, take your Carolina rig that you're downline fishing with, and just cast it out like you would catfish with. Yeah. A lot of times they're sitting on bottom. So just a few different presentations to see, what they want. Some days they want live bait. Some days they want cut bait. You just have to find what they want that day.
Now, when you're talking about bait, I'm fairly sure you're talking about gizzard and threadfin shad. Is that correct?
Absolutely, yes, sir. Gizzard and threadfin shad are our primary bait source that we catch around here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably it's kind of like rolling a pork chop through a dog pound. When you don't get a bite, you get assaulted with those live shad. That's for sure.
That's for sure. Boy, if you're holding on to it, and if it's not in a rod holder and you're holding on to it, you better hold on tight. They will yank it out of your hand.
Yeah, they do hit hard. My gosh, it's just crazy. And when you get on a pretty good sized school, I'm sure if you got 3 or 4 people in your boat, it's just chaos.
It is a 3-ring circus at times. It is so fun when it's like that. There's so many times during the spring where we'll come across a large school and we'll end up with no rods in the water because everybody's trying to get the fish off.
Folks,
it's just all you can do.
Yeah, folks, let me tell you, if you have young children, that are wanting to fish or kind of have a knack for wanting to get into fishing, and you don't have the equipment, to take them, you don't have a boat, you don't have a motor, et cetera, give Trent a call. I mean, there is nothing more exciting for a young kid than to take them hybrid fishing. And, Trent's boat is plenty big enough. It's plenty safe. And these kids will have a blast and talk about this forever on these hybrid trips. So, that's one of the things I wanted to point out, that these hybrid trips are just insane.
They get crazy. And then, you get other fish mixed in. We'll catch the occasional walleye. And then sometimes, especially with kids, we'll try to target the white perch that are in there. You can just catch those one right after another. If you've limited out on hybrids or just having a hard time getting them to bite or something, you can almost always get the kids on the white perch.
Yeah,
they don't get real big, but they sure are fun.
Well, that's one of the things about being a talented guide as you are, is, you're able to switch species at the drop of your hat. Everything changes constantly, especially when you're in your business, guiding the wind change, weather change, anything can turn these hybrids off and on sometimes. And to have the capability and the ability to change species at the drop of your hat and still provide a fun outing for whoever you've got on your boat is a big plus for you.
That's one of my main goals. We have to make the clients happy. That's the main goal.
Yeah.
So, we've also included, some crappie fishing as well. It's not my main primary source of guiding, but we've added that to the lineup in case we limit out or can't find them. We'll go crappie fishing. Just add little bit extra adding to it, you know.
I hear you. I hear you. Well, that takes us through the early spring and early summer. So now we're starting to get into late May, June-ish. What are you seeing in this transition where we get into our hot months? Where are these fish traveling? Where are they going? Are they getting harder to find? What's up with that?
They're getting a little bit different. Instead of targeting them in 20 to 30 feet of water, what I find, you know, from say late June to August is a lot of times you'll find them in suspended over 50, 60 feet. Now they're still only down about 30 feet, but they're sitting over that really deep water that's a lot cooler than the shallower water is. We'll target them like that until it just gets to be too hot. And it seems like then for some reason they'll kind of move up into the trees. They'll get up in there where they're getting some shade and stuff from the sun, I suppose. Skyhook's pretty clear lake.
Yeah, it's for this part of the country, it's pretty clear. And you know, I like I said, I don't have your experience, but I wholeheartedly agree with what you're saying. Those fish come out of that real deep water, and as we know, when those fish get that far suspended, when they're over 60, 70 feet of water and they're 30 feet down, they are much more difficult to catch than what they are when they're closer to the bottom. Suspended fish are just notoriously finicky.
Yes, sir, they are.
And
now, one tool that I have to combat that Lowrance has come out with is active target.
Right.
I'm able to just drop that bait right in front of their face. And that is, if you do that and they're not biting, then you know you're not going to catch them.
Yeah, you just need to move on.
Yeah, move on and find some that's going to do. But that's a tool that I have aboard that is just irreplaceable.
I tell you, I have the active target on my Ranger as well, and I tell you, it almost should be illegal. I mean, when I go crappie fishing, you know, it's unreal what you can do with this great Lowrance equipment, including active target. It is so precise. You just eliminate so much water, and it makes you just a much more efficient fisherman.
And you can see how the fish are reacting. You know, say if you drop a orange and black
exactly
jig down in front of their face and they don't want it, and then you try a different color and they do, you know, you determine that they would rather have that than the other.
Yeah, that's one of the biggest pluses for this active target is being able to get that immediate feedback on between you and the fish's reaction to whatever you're throwing. You know, yep. I never knew before active target how many fish I was putting my bait in front of that were totally neutral or would swim away from it. It's amazing with that immediate reaction from that fish to what you're throwing, to what bait you're using, how effective that is in catching fish.
It is. It's a complete game changer.
Oh, definitely.
I mean, from anywhere from going and catching bait to something going and catching catfish. You know, we target just about every species with it.
Right.
Just about anything that you can fish for, we can see it on active target.
Yeah, and you're very, very correct in bringing up the point that, you know, it's very, very species oriented as far as you can fish for anything. My gosh, it helps you find and locate fish. And like I said, the most immediate factor I think that's a big plus is seeing that reaction from that fish to the bait you're throwing. I think that just, boy, that's the cat's meow right there, being able, like you said, to see that fish's reaction and to change baits, change sizes, change presentations, and then see how that same fish reacts to all those changes. It's amazing.
And it sure is, like I said, it's a game changer.
Yes, most definitely. Well, that takes us through summertime. Now we're starting to get into September, October-ish. Water temperature, those fronts are starting to come through. The days are starting to get a little shorter, and the water temperature's falling. So where are we targeting, or where are we locating these fish now?
This is the type of year that I fish a whole lot of different species. Just depends on what's going on. When the water temperature gets back down into the 70s, the hybrids will make a little bit of a presentation for a few weeks. As a matter of fact, we've been catching a few of them up shallow here within the past, couple of weeks. But what I mainly try to focus on this time of year is going to be the catfish, spoonbill, and crappie. Wintertime is phenomenal catfishing season.
Oh, yeah.
And, of course, that's whenever we do a lot of spoonbill stuff, follow them around until they make their spring migration up north. But that's mainly what I'm targeting this time of year would be the catfish, spoonbill, and crappie, and the hybrids whenever they're not in their mood.
Yeah,
but we'll find them. Oddly enough, I have found on Sky to hybrids anywhere from Beaver Island all the way up north to Bull Creek.
Yeah,
in the wintertime. And you find them where you find them that time of year. It seems like I've gone out there at 18-degree weather in the middle of January and found them right in front of Beaver Island and had a 4-man limit in about an hour and a half.
Yeah, I've even got a video posted out there on Just Fish Outdoors where I did a hybrid video. I think it was around the middle of November one year. I'm throwing 1/4 ounce, 3-inch sassy shads, and I'm catching my fish anywhere from 4 or 5 feet deep out to about 20-something feet deep.
You bet.
It's like they're everywhere and nowhere. Yeah. Even up in the timber. I've even gone up into the timber and, fished the actual creek channels and caught them up in the timber. And boy, you talk about frustrating. Now that's frustrating right there. He's got you wrapped around everything. But
boy, they do.
It is amazing how the population seems to get once that water temperature gets down into the 60s.
There's, those magic numbers where you can find them certain areas as far as the temperature goes.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit. Let's enlighten the folks a little bit what a hybrid is. Folks, a hybrid is a cross between a white bass / sand bass and a striper. And, it's not uncommon for these fish to get up, 7, 8, 9, 10 pounds in some of the lakes that have a really good forage base. And in my humble opinion, feel free to jump in here on this one. I think exhibit more of a striper behavior than what they do as sand bass behavior. You find that true, Trent?
They seem to take on a pretty good amount of both. They seem to get, I don't know, they both have attitude as far as their parent fish goes. And it seems to make them more, they're one of my favorite fish to catch as far as fighting. They don't ever give up. And yeah, you're correct about how they're made. And actually, if you go to YouTube and go to the ODWC, or I'm sorry, the Outdoor Oklahoma channel. We did a show last year. I had them aboard, and we did a show on how hybrids are made, how the stripers are collected and the eggs are dispersed, and the sand bass are collected, and how they disperse the milk into the eggs and make the hybrids. Anyway.
Yeah, it's pretty informational, educational as well. It's kind of interesting the way they do that, and of course, the hybrid is the perfect fish for controlling populations because they're sterile. They don't very, very, very low percentage actually reproduce. And, you can start an argument with that statement in some places, but they are true hybrids and they're sterile. So any state organization that's involved with the fisheries, it's much more easy to manage the populations because of that. It's a true put and take type situation. So they're not going to get overpopulated if as long as the fisheries department do their creel surveys and this and that and the other. So, okay, that takes us through the wintertime. Let's talk a little bit about how you prepare these fish. Folks, these fish are, if you do a few little things, these fish are very, very good table fare. Wouldn't you agree, Trent?
Yes, sir, they are. They're really good white, flaky meat. The main thing that I find is you just have to get the red line out. Once you get that red out, you can fry it up, bake it, grill it. There's times where I'll leave the meat or leave the skin on the meat and just grill it, with the skin on. kind of like a redfish. If you've ever had redfish grilled,
Yeah.
there's just so many different ways to cook it.
Yeah.
But the key, that I found is just get the red meat out, and it's just wonderful.
Yeah, folks, what he's talking about is when you fillet one of these fish, they're much like stripers and much like sand bass, i.e. white bass, is right in the middle of the fillet. There's a strip of red meat that usually runs the full length of the fillet. And what you want to do is you want to take and cut that red meat out of every fillet before you cook them. And boy, if you'll do that, these things, Trent alluded to the really, really white, flaky meat, and they are very, very good table fare as long as you take that red meat out.
Making me hungry.
I hear you. Well, we've talked about the fish. We've talked about the migration habits of these fish. We've talked a little bit about the tackle and that you use to catch these fish. And we've talked about, they're pretty good table fare as well. So tell us, do you guide year round?
I'm a full-time guide. I just try to find whatever's biting at the time. Of course, my springtime is always filled with hybrids.
Yeah.
That'll kind of transition over to sand bass. And then into the winter time, the catfish and spoonbill and the crappie and stuff. But, no, I do this full time. If you want to go fishing, just give me a call and we'll figure out what's biting, what you want to find, what you want to catch, and I'll make it happen.
And once again, how's the best way to get a hold of you, Trent, if they want to book a trip with you?
The best way, the quickest way is to just call me on my phone number is 918-991-9749. You can call or text me. And if I don't answer, just leave a message. I usually don't answer if I'm on a guided trip. The other way is my website is McBrideOutside.com. That'll have all of my information as well.
Do you post daily or weekly reports on your website as far as what you're doing?
I haven't posted any reports in quite a while. I try to do that on my Facebook page occasionally. At least, let people know what I'm catching, how I'm catching, where, and the depth, and all that. So you can find that on my Facebook page occasionally.
Now, is that also McBride Outside Facebook page?
There is a McBride Outside, or you can friend me personally. It's Trent McBride.
Okay. And once again, Trent, what's that phone number?
918-991-9749.
Folks, that's Trent McBride of McBride Outside, and like I said, he's Just Fish Outdoors approved. I have fished with this gentleman, and he does know what he's doing. A veteran. He's has some excellent equipment. Tell us a little bit about your boat, Trent.
My boat was custom made for guided for hybrids. It's a 22-foot Predator center console. I have a base anchor board, of course, all the equipment, the latest equipment from Lowrance. It's a very comfortable boat. It's easy to walk around. It's not small. You're not going to feel confined.
Right.
And,
so you can easily accommodate at least 4 anglers.
4 is perfect. I've got 4 seats in there. I've had as many as 8.
Wow.
That gets a little bit tight.
That's a little bit congested right there.
That was a little bit tight. Fortunately, a couple of them were children.
Yeah.
But I supply everything. I supply all the tackle equipment, life jackets. I have water aboard. Sometimes I have snacks. I try to make it a all-inclusive style fishing trip. I even keep a grill aboard in case we get hungry.
Well, how can it get any better than that right there? Not only does he take you out and catch fish, clean your fish, but he'll also cook your fish.
If we're hungry, we're going to eat fish.
There you go. That's what I'm talking about. Folks, that's Trent McBride, McBride Outside, and he guides in northeast Oklahoma on several different lakes, depending on the species you're after or what he's catching. He has wonderful equipment. He knows what he's doing. He's a very, very nice young man, of course, as old as I am. About everybody I consider a young man. So he knows what he's doing, and he not only can talk the talk, he can walk the walk. So this guy catches fish. So look him up if you're interested in booking a trip in Northeast Oklahoma. And like I said, folks, I guarantee you he'll put you on the fish. Trent, man, I appreciate you coming on the show this evening, and I've had fun talking with you. Any last words from your side?
Well, I sure appreciate you having me on, Bill, and it was good fishing with you last time you was out. Have to get you out again.
Oh, and, yeah, I'm looking forward to that. We may have to put on a crappie trip.
Hey, that sounds good. Sounds good. No, if you want to contact me, you have my phone number and my website, and just give me a holler.
All right, folks. Like I said, that's Trent McBride, the McBride Outside. He guides in Northeast Oklahoma, and he definitely knows what he's doing. Look him up on his Facebook page, McBride Outside, or you can also find him on his website at McBride Outside. And Trent, what's that phone number once again?
918-991-9749.
All right, folks, that'll pretty much wrap it up for another Just Fish Outdoors podcast edition. And like I said, I certainly appreciate Trent for coming on the show, and get in touch with him. He'll put you on the fish. Trent, thanks very much. We appreciate your time, and we'll catch you later.
Yes, sir. Thank you.